May the 29th, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, nuclearproctologist.org. And we got a rather good story for everybody to think about today. Is that the radiation was well known here in North America, and that people had allegedly went out and found it. This particular person is attacking everybody that talks about radiation. He was up on E&E News. How bizarre is this? I'll play the video for you, a little clip of it. We're worried about getting strikes from this person. And he's attacking E&E News all the time, saying there's no radiation. But watch the video that's coming up.
So as I mentioned before, you have to wait for this bar. These are 20-second cycles. You have to, whoa, that's really high, folks. At 1.2, you're to exit the area. That's 1.3. Now we have to wait for 5 of these cycles to know if it's actually, okay.
Okay, and so the video goes on for 9 minutes. For 9 minutes, and then he's going to a car wash, but he's attacking me and he's attacking everybody on the internet. He has smeared me relentlessly. He's just come up into my community and tried to get people to hurt me. He has posted pictures on the internet of my home and has attacked me relentlessly, saying that there is no radiation. But there he was, you know. And if you want to understand what these reactors are like, remember the fuel pools were on the roof of these buildings. There is no roof of these buildings. And he also
Oddly
covers
enough,
that.
Here we are, May 23rd. They've just been hit with a 6.1 earthquake. This is where the location where those 1,500 spent fuel rods, which, by the way, are 10 to 20 times more radioactive than the fuel rods that are not spent. That means the ones that are safe stuff, and you're wondering, like, oh, is this something to worry
Showing a
about?
building that's blown up, blah, 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 blah.
The yield winds will be here, and it's going to knock off 1.89 billion people.
So that's the same guy, all of these videos, and yet he's attacking everybody that mentions the word Fukushima and calling them scam artists and fraudsters. He has accused me of killing Jeff Palco, who was one of the donors to the Expedition for Life. I was on the ocean when Jeff had died, apparently by suicide. You never know that listening to this crazy person. Now this person, we have emails, and we have shown those emails repeatedly of him harassing Jeff Palco all the way up until Jeff committed his suicide. I was on the ocean the whole time. So he's calling us scammers and con artists. He went out and took donations across Canada, found enormous amounts of radiation, pulled down that website because of all the people who donated to him so they would lose contact. And then he come out and attacked everybody that talked about Fukushima for the last 5 years as a vicious thug. A vicious thug. And I'm sick of it. We're going to have to deal criminally with this person, obviously. He's not part of the human species. He's part of the military-industrial complex, or he's part of the nuclear PR firms, as if there was a difference. Very dangerous people stalking us and causing great harm to this planet and life on this planet. An abomination of the human spirit, by all means. This person has personified everything that is wrong with the human consciousness. The lack of empathy and the morals is emblematic of sociopath, and he has demonstrated that and portrayed that in every one of his videos and every one of his rants and vicious assaults and attacks and smears against everybody in the community. I'm speaking out for everybody in the community, even though I am the #1 target. He doesn't target everybody else to make it look like he's not targeting me specifically. But I have been relentlessly pursued by this soulless, spineless turd who crawls around in sewers looking for dirt in order to come out and try to manipulate people's opinions and focus. Think about this reactor here, how big that building is. That's 1/10 of what it should be. It should be the one closest to me, right, with all the panels kind of still left on it. They tore it all down. That's the same building, see? This is Unit 3. Both of these are very easy to understand that there is no fuel pools at the top of the building, right? They detonated, blew up, and everything else. Melted down. Everything is gone, it's missing. And because United Nations doesn't recognize that as an issue, that issue, then no one is allowed to debate it or talk about it, have a conversation about it. If you look at the building, it's ridiculous to suggest that there's fuel pools at the roof of the building or the reactor even exists. That's all gone. This is a major event on this planet. This is a major crisis for this planet. This is a major issue that cannot go away and has already impacted the Pacific Ocean. We're looking at an extinction event for the Pacific Ocean. But for people to really appreciate what happened, we're going to run you through some headlines. Radioactive cloud hit the U.S. carrier. Now, I covered a video where crew members had said they were 2 miles off the coastline, but the media insists they were 100 miles out. And so they were rescuing people a few miles off the coastline, not 100 miles out. Absorbed radiation doses of iodine-132 was 10 times higher, and it ionizes and radiates your thyroid glands 9 times more effectively. And 133, likely a major contributor. And so there was 30 times more in 133, and there was 30 times more 133, 31 times more iodine-129. Wait for it. Okay, it's not there in that one. Iodine-133, we're supposed to jump screens that time for some reason. We didn't know. There we are. Iodine-133. So for every iodine-131, there's 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133, and 31 times more iodine-129 with a 15 million year half-life. And all of these isotopes are dirty bombs. These are why we have nuclear waste sites and terrorist laws. Let's keep running through these headlines. Try to make the videos as short as we can. But there's so much documentation and data and information, and so many nuances and minutiae and details that are important to understanding the picture. I'm just clearing up my picture. Rainwater, 80 times more 131. And so, but iodine-131 and cesium are tracers. That meant everything else was here. So when you see iodine, because they're not going to tell you that, and they're going to tell you they're worried about iodine and cesium, but you're not. By the way, cesium, you are, but you're not worried about it in the context of all the other isotopes. Cesium goes into your thyroid more so than iodine does. That's the game they've been playing for 70 years against you, the disinformation game. Periodic nuclear fission, and they have 2,000 people, or firms, that might have thousands of people working for them. The guy we were talking about earlier is just one of those people. This is what they do, they muddle the water. And what I try to do is clear the water, but I've been attacked and assaulted and assailed and vilified and demonized, marginalized, and just outrageous assault upon my personality, my character. It's character assassination. That that's the game, right? To distract me from doing what I'm doing and talk about that stuff. But the problem is he's doing it to everybody. See? But I'm the real target. So they can't look like focus in on just one person. That looks really vicious. So they focus in on other people, not focusing on, but mention other people. I mean, the real attacks are all based upon me. Because we've done 260 days on the coastline. We showed an extinction event. That's documented up at thenuclearproctologist.org. Periodic nuclear fission, 2011. Periodic, that never stopped. Nuclear fallout, so that's a chain reaction. That's the worst scenario. That's China syndrome in every sense of that word, is what happened in Japan. Nuclear fallout will engulf Taiwan, and 4,000 above the limits for radioactive iodine. Yet eating it poses no health risks, according to the crazy whack jobs that are your mainstream media and your universities are out of control. They're out of control. They've been captured by the industry, and they keep talking about natural radiation versus man-made, claiming it's the same effects, a homeostasis effects. And homeostasis is where it's good for you, and homeostasis is where your body can't aggregate anymore. Your body regulates you like a thermostat regulates your house, or the cruise control regulates your vehicle. But that's not why we have terrorist laws and nuclear waste sites. For man-made stuff, it's because it doesn't work that way. It sequesters in your organs, muscles, your bones, and your body attacks it relentlessly for decades, building a tumor around it. Government statement about safe radiation actually undermines confidence. Here, all these screens, excuse me, I'll settle down. Total 131, 137 cesiums from Fukushima appear to rival Chernobyl. But there was 3 melter reactors in Japan confirmed. Three. Chernobyl only had 1. And Chernobyl stopped after 10 days, and Chernobyl was 1/3 the size and 30% meltdown. So why is this comparison even considered? Well, that's how they confuse you, manipulate you. And they attack me because who else is telling you that? Name one person on the planet who's doing what I'm doing. Name one. I want to hear that name. And it better not be Jim Stone. U.S. government statements about safe radiation actually undermines confidence. That's what Jim Stone has been doing to us. And so all of these stories that Israel caused an earthquake and a tsunami is based up on this Jim Stone's fantasy that reactors can't explode. And so he created this whole fiction because he's so technical and he knows nuclear plants can't explode like Chernobyl or like 3 Mile Island or like the SL1. So he created this whole fable claiming that nuclear plants can't explode or detonate or have an accident like that. And he created this whole fiction of earthquakes man-made and tsunamis were man-made and that the earthquake wasn't real. And it's just, people fall for that. People who don't know any better, because the nuclear industry, for starters, fills everybody up with bananas and potato chips and walking in the sunshine. Nonsense. Parables that are not parables. It's for 70 years in Hollywood and TV and radio and universities to confuse the public. And there's really truly exactly what I'm saying. That's why they attack me so much, because I'm the only person in history who has come out and done what I've done. Come out and bludgeon their lie to pieces with facts, with logic, with common sense. Large radiation clouds nearing California on April 1st. And that's the Norwegian Institute for Research. I'm not going to go through all the models for you today. Strawberry mushroom cesium. Do you think it went away? Do you think it just disappeared? Do you think it never happened? Do you think that because your leading scientists in the industry and everybody else, when you have an accident, comes and says, oh, it's like a banana. But if they're worried about a terrorist getting it because it's a dirty bomb, will contaminate your city. How can a banana contaminate your city? So why do they do that? Why are they implying that? Well, that's how out of touch and out of control and disgusting that your universities and everybody else are. This is their reflex. Come out and tell you that it's harmless. When there's an accident over and over and over. And they have to do that because otherwise people wake up. Cesium and iodine, both at least 600% above EPA in the milk, in your milk. Now who's drinking all the milk in your house if you got kids? Huh? You see why I get upset? Who's drinking all that milk? Do you see how heartless and soulless the industry is? They didn't take it off the shelf. No, they said they raised the limit and said it's okay. You didn't pay them to do that. You paid them there. You gave them equipment, the monetary, the authority, and everything else. Health official, milk exceeded it. Missy is technically correct, right? So people get called out. Now Forbes is the worst thing on the planet. Forbes says Fukushima is equal to 95 million bananas or something, 77 million bananas. This is the industry. That's it slapping you in the mouth when it does that. Every time it says it's like natural radiation, potassium or rubidium, or cigarettes are worse and stuff like this. This is slapping you in the mouth. This is 70 years of it. But now you have the internet, you can look up and you'll find out it's not like that. That's why we have terrorist laws and nuclear waste sites. See, because it's not like that. Extreme spike in 131, which is a tracer. It meant that thousands of other isotopes are here. People always say a couple of hundred. No, Dana. It's actually thousands. Tens of thousands. Radioactive isotopes, long-lived radioactive isotopes from a chain reaction that got nothing to do with the stuff that's created by the sun. Got nothing to do with natural radiation in the environment or the universe, period. Are made from uranium plutonium in a jimmied, what they call a chain reaction. A nuclear power plant is not creating energy. That's a byproduct of trying to keep it cool. That's all that is. To make directed energy weapons, lasers for the future, for the Star Wars fantasies, and for all their other little fantasies. Florida rain had third most cesium. So, like I can show you crazy numbers. 220 million becquerels of iodine per liter of rain in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Do you think the other thousands of isotopes that are not in that same liter of rainwater? Do you think rain falls with a liter? Once it's here forever. Once it's here forever. It's throughout the environment. It assimilates into every aspect of your life. That's why we have terrorist laws. That's why we have nuclear waste sites. That's why the big fight over Yucca Mountain. That's why the fear of the fallout shelters. It's not a game, see? Even though they play it like a game in order to stay alive for another couple of years. Or to trick you and deceive you and manipulate you and turn you against people like me. Florida has the highest iodine 131 reading. Any monitor station up to that point, allegedly. There are many, many readings from all over the world. Norwegian, France, Sweden, Austria, Canada, United States, all put out charts. We went through this repeatedly. TEPCO admits Wednesday the nuclear fuel in reactor number one could be melting. April 20th, 2011. UCB finds picocurries. This obsesium, right? This is a tracer. But it's not much, but it does show that this is just one. This is nothing. These numbers are nothing, but they're serious numbers. They're important numbers. TEPCO data suggests that fission is ongoing. April 21st. Truly scary. So understanding the accident, you got to go back into these dates, into the beginning of the accident, and look at what actually happened. See, with radiation, you only need one plume. That's it. Not like Chernobyl, which is a perpetual motion plume. Endless plumes coming out of it all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1,440 minutes a day. An endless perpetual motion machine. Unless we sacrifice millions of people to stop it. There's multiple reactors. And on top of the buildings were reactors in pools for up to 10 years. Iodine 131 is Phoenix milk, 500% higher than the EPA. And just to quantify that statement, just give me a second, I'll import a little video. I'll import a little video from MIT. I've been chopping for the last couple of days straight from MIT stuff, so you can find it and be able to play it, and I didn't import it. I'm just going to turn his volume right down. We're going to come back up in a second. It's just a 1-minute video. This was March the 14th, 2011 at MIT, talking about the fuel pool. Here we go.
If I can just add to that very briefly, there are two things that make the problem of the spent fuel easier to deal with, and one thing that makes it harder to deal with. The harder problem is the one that Ian has just mentioned, the fact that the fuel is not inside the containment. The two easier problems, or the two easier aspects, are that the fuel pools, although they have in most of these reactors quite a lot of fuel in them, perhaps as much as 10 years worth of spent fuel, by this time are not generating as much heat as obviously the fuel in the core.
As the fuel in the reactor core is. No, of course not. Why would it? You got to put that out there to confuse people when it's not necessary to be said. It's only said in order to cause that confusion that to the people in the audience who don't know any better. But that was March the 14th. 10 years of fuel, and every 2 years you take 3,440 fuel rods, assemblies. Each assembly got 80 fuel rods. Each rod is 18 pounds, is 12 feet long. That's 280,000 rods per reactor cycle. And they've been there for 40 years, and you put it at the roof for up to a decade worth of fuel at a time. That's all you can fit up there. On each of the reactor buildings that are all missing. New TEPCO data unequivocally shows ongoing criticalities. 2011. So you got to go back to when this happened to really appreciate what happened. Forecast showed cesium iodine over northwest, which are tracers. That meant everything else came through too. That's all that means. That's when they talk about these are bad isotopes, don't get me wrong, but there's 10 times more 132 ionized and radiated thyroid glands, 9 times more effective with the iodine 131, 30 times more 133, 31 times more 129, all got the same property. You see what I mean? It goes on and on and on and on and on to the different isotopes. So they're emblematic, and they're easy to find, and that's what we got. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. If you can avoid it on radiation for Fukushima. To downplay that, we paid these people to find it and tell us. We gave them the authority, the money, and equipment, and that's their job. If there's a release and there's an event, you tell us. That's why you got the job. That's why you got the equipment. That's why you got the monetary. That's why you got the authority. Never, they won't come out and tell you, but it got reported on. Then you find endless headlines downplaying it. Then you find endless headlines of them not admitting it, saying it's not true, they didn't say it. Down the road, that has never happened. Don't expect an update anytime soon. Radnet monitors shipped out on Tuesday, June the 23rd. They were getting pounded. 300,000 becquerels a square meter of radioactive iodine deposit areas near Tokyo. Well, they're always trying to tell you that it all went into the ocean. If it goes out towards the ocean, it's 3 days later, it's in North America. It's an inconceivable amount compared to Chernobyl. Chernobyl is insignificant. It was horrible. Terrible, unimaginable, still causing grief all over the world. Chernobyl only lasted 10 days. Fukushima is different. 3 melter reactors, gone. All the reactors on the roof, gone. Fourth building, gone. Other reactors throughout the country, allegedly gone. Up to 10 of them completely destroyed. 15 of them were in a station blackout, which is the worst you can have happen there. So, possibility that radioactive iodine was in gas samples collected at reactor 2 inlet filter. See, if you look at the buildings, you weren't collecting anything out of anything. You couldn't get in it to collect something out of something. The buildings are not even there. That's number 27. Okay, let me come back up. When you look at the comparisons, right, that's number 4. It's number 4, and they say on the right-hand side, that's what it looks like. That's the official pictures. They tore it all down, though, but they say it looks like that on the inside. Here's a better picture. What? They got it down a big mess there. I mean, look at that building number 3. And you tell me that's not destroyed on the right-hand side, but yet that's the same building on the left-hand side that they're claiming. The one on your right-hand side, they claim is inside the one on your left-hand side. They got any idea how out of touch with reality that statement is, and why do they tell you that? Why are they showing you, like, why won't they show you those 2 pictures there is the question you need to ask yourself. How come they don't bother showing you, say, turn the fuel pool inside of the building on your left? Because people would call them up and freak out on them and say, hey, you're full of shit. See? See that? If you can't understand the significance of what I'm showing you, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. If you think about how badly damaged that really is, and that the building is all torn apart, right? Yeah? The building is completely torn apart, torn down to nothing. There's nothing left there, right? They tore it all off. The fuel pools were at the roof. Now, Chernobyl was one building. That's all Chernobyl. Fukushima, Unit 1, Unit 2, these are 100% destroyed. Look at the heat signature number 2 up in your top right-hand corner. Look at number 3, completely gone. Look at where the reactor fuel pools are up at the roof. And look at where the reactor core is way up in the building. Do you think that if you shot a neuron through that building there, that you would be able to sketch out what you're seeing there? Do you think that actually is the same buildings? Well, they are, right? But what they're doing is saying that they're going to shoot death through this building right now, Unit 3. That's why I'm showing you those comparisons. Let's keep up with those headlines. And 27, Dana. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I put it in the same pile, right? Kansas air filters had iodine 131 above highest levels detected in California by Berkeley. I got a whole folder on Berkeley. Berkeley's crazy. Berkeley got called out for saying the radiation was like flying across the country, but one media down got upset with them. Americium-241 plutonium detected in all soil samples off the Fukushima coast. TEPCO says it's not caused by the meltdown. Right? TEPCO says the reactor's pictures I just showed you are not real. See? They show you a beautiful interior. That was 6 weeks ago. They were showing those perfect buildings. 6 weeks ago, saying it's number 4. I just showed you number 4. Absorbed radiation doses 132. So 14,000 deaths were connected. What was that other headline? Iodine 131 detected in Tokyo, multiple locations during November. They're burning 350,000 becquerels in incinerators right now, right throughout the country. And Fukushima has an incinerator built right on their site now. They're burning radioactive material every time wind is blown out to sea. It comes straight over here 3 days later. It's insidious what they're doing. This is murder. We're being murdered. Your loved ones, your children, your friends, and your family are being murdered. The people you paid to tell you about this took the radiation detecting devices down and called everybody like me a lawyer and sent a pack of wolves, jackals after me to demonize me and vilify me because I'm the only person on the planet, period, that's out here pounding and grounding with these people, showing you the documentation constantly. And I went out and spent 260 days on the ocean. 260 days covering the entire coastline of British Columbia. Hang on a second. 260 days on this boat. We showed an extinction event. This is Louise Narrows and the Queen Charlotte's. It's been like this for millions of years. And now it looks like that. We've done 260 days, folks. Go up to Nuclear Proctologist and you can work that out on your own, what I'm talking about. We're going to get into these headlines, keep running through them. And let's finish it out with the headlines anyway, if I can get back on track. Iodine 131 in rainwater everywhere, which is a tracer. Calgary Sun, no need to panic. Iodine detected by Sweden, Norway, Finland. Most likely a reactor or isotope source at a hospital. Yeah, right, okay. Anything but Fukushima. Uh, 350% of the highest reported. 54,000 becquerels in spinach 100 kilometers from Japan. Over and over and over and over, they said that's not true. These headlines are not true. Every headline like that, they'll say it's not true. Every single headline I show you now, they tell you it's not true. That's the PR firms, 2,000 of them, some with thousands of people working at it, and then all your universities and medias on board. That's your biggest liars on the planet, is your university and your media. They're the worst thing that ever happened to us. The ultimate betrayal is the taking over of our institution by the nuclear industry. Infiltrated every aspect. We take our loved ones to a hospital and inject radiation in them. That's how stupid we are. That's how idiotic we've become. Because we don't know any better, we put our fate in our hospitals and our universities and in our media to keep us informed, and they told us like a banana and potato chip, and potassium-40 and rubidium, natural stuff, for 70 years. To the point now where we bring our loved ones there to let them kill them. That's murder. If you bring your loved ones to a hospital to get chemotherapy, only 2% survive. So why are they still doing it? Well, it's an experimental. You got to sign your life away before you can do it. See? The industry is out of control. It's soulless, it's merciless, and it is well greased with the hospitals, who are ignorant, who don't understand the actual implications of radiation. They're told one thing, and people sign their life away, and they don't know what to do, and this is their job all day, and they're desensitized. We hope. The nuclear industry is educated and knows the difference, and has implemented this in every community with a hospital to give your loved ones chemotherapy, which will kill them. And the 2% that survived never had cancer in the first place. That's why they survived. 28 of every 100 Fukushima pregnancies resulted in miscarriage or abortion. The industry is sick, and it needs help. And its help is it needs to be injected itself with radiation man-made. Every worker, every executive needs to be chemotherapy for 6 years straight to re-educate them and their friends and their families. That's what we need to do with these people. They all need chemotherapy, enemas, and you name it. Monitoring shows relatively high radiation dose rates in Chiba, 200 kilometers away. Once it's there, it's never gone away. Once it's there, it's infiltrated every aspect of your life. Fukushima is not 4.5 Chernobyls of cesium, but it is worse. I mean, you're talking about Chernobyl was 1/3 the size, 30% meltdown, never had reactor cores on the roof. Fukushima is 3 times the size, 100% meltdowns. Never stopped the chain reaction, still releasing, still consuming, still atomizing, aerosoling, ionizing, radiating. Fukushima studied people inhale up to 85,000 becquerels of radioactivity in just 4 hours. That's dead people walking, see? That's dead people walking because you've done that would happen to them. Do you think it stopped right there in that after 4 hours? That's why the industry is out of control. 20 million particles radioactive iodine 131. There's 100 times more, 31 times more iodine 129. There's actually 220 million Iodine-129 radioactive atoms with a 15 million year half-life per liter of rainwater in Vancouver, Canada. And these are just tracers compared to everything else that came through. So 220 million of this, 220 million of that, 500 million of this, 500,000 of that, 300 million of this, 20 million of that, 5 million of these, 5 million of those, in that same liter. That's how that works. And it really does, there really is that much. A gram of it is 88 curies, where a gram of natural is 1/10,000,000th of a curie, 162,000 atoms, where a man-made gram, a gram of potassium, like from a banana, if you gathered up a gram, 160 atoms, but they can't mutate a fruit fly or something. But man-made was 88 times 37 billion atoms per gram. And there's 5 million pounds in a reactor, divide that by grams, and that's why the snowstorms are so visual. Yeah, but we're not going to get that tonight. Almost entire ground level northern hemisphere covered in radioactive fission products after 3/11. The impacts of Fukushima released on the worldwide background must be investigated. I hate the word background anyway. Such a deceptive word. Every time somebody says millisieverts or unisieverts, it's so friggin' deceptive. We talk about atoms. That's all I want to hear about is Becquerels, atomic decays. And that's how you justify and judge how many different types of cancer a person is going to get and how quick it's going to show up. Unisievers, millisievers is like sunburns and stuff like that from sunshine. It's irrelevant. No one cares about it. It's stupid. It's idiotic. It's how they progress to tell you another lie. 70 years of this. We live in it's up to the families and the friends and the loved ones of nuclear scientists and nuclear purveyors of misery to hold them accountable, to get in their faces, to give them a conscience. Nobody else can get at these people, only their loved ones. Nobody else can reach them. They have a wall around them where no common sense is allowed. But their friends and their families and their loved ones, that's where they go to escape their world. And that is the people ultimately that will have to beat these people senseless. Fukushima followed and will very soon because of what happened in Japan, because of the death of the Pacific Ocean. Canada and Mexico avoided much of the contamination. How? Did it get out of the way? Did it dodge? Is that what happened? See, it drives me crazy when you hear headlines like that. How does radiation work? Does radiation come in a straight line? Does radiation stop at the borders? Does radiation have some kind of conscience or something? Oh no, there's a playground full of children there. I'm not going to go there. No. Is that how that works? This is releases based upon just a couple of days releases from a single reactor in Japan, and not counting the melter reactors or the spent reactors that were on the roof that disappeared, caught fire, blew up, and detonated, caught fire, and just released inconceivable amounts. This was only based upon a couple of days of venting, someone turning a dial when the plant was blown up and there's no dial to turn. Even if you had power back in there, which is what they were talking about originally, there was nowhere to plug it in. And so this is just one of many, 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 many models shown, and I'm going to speed through a couple for you. See, that's Japan way over there. That's Norwegian Institute for Research. And right above my head is North America. There's British Columbia and America getting pounded. Now it's across America. There's a straight plume all the way across the Pacific, all the way across the continent, all the way across Alaska, all the way across Europe, all the way across the Atlantic. And this model is only based up on a couple of days' releases, not based up on endless releases, the perpetual motion, and all the isotopes. It's just based up on two tracers. And I gotta scroll down and keep on track here. I must keep burning through these numbers. We're actually doing really good. Fukushima cover-up extraordinary amount of kids have thyroid cancer, but cancer is the last one to show up. There's 1,800 diseases will show up first. And let me see, let me give you because I'll probably forget about it. Let me give you the draft of these illnesses. Let's shoot back at this for 1 second. Will that come up? Yeah, okay. You want to look up that study. Early and late effects of radiation, normal tissues and organs, threshold doses for tissue You also need to look at Dr. Raymond Gilmedy from Loveless Respiratory Research Institute. Studies 94 of them on beagle dogs and beagle puppies with americium, neptunium, plutonium. Curium is the biggest production of irradiated fuel rods. But if you look up that one, and then you can look up this study here is another based upon the karma of Kerma, nuclear waste and natural rights. If you look that up, that's a really great read too. And so they go right down the gauntlet of a whole bunch of illnesses and injuries and diseases and manifestations from radiation. So that's a good one. That one's, there's actually 1,726 diseases identified. And then, which is, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, heart, thyroid, adrenaline glands. And if you look at this one here, the final draft report, and you start looking at all these other studies, you'll realize there's a lot more than that, and you realize the enormity of why this is such a bad technology. The data shows it starts soon after 86 meltdown, number of cases still rising. So Chernobyl cancers took 4 to 5 years to appear. Fukushima has only been 5 years. That's the point I'm trying to make. Experts confirm radioactive water on the way to the west coast. It got here in 45 days. The ocean currents travel at 5 miles per hour or faster, Croatia current, and then that splits and goes to California current, and then the British Columbia, it comes right into British Columbia also, right? So it goes right there. There's a California current that circulates. Everything that washes down from the mountains circulates right back to California coastline again, repetitively in increments over a short period of time. There were orders not to get within 230 miles. Potassium iodine given to all defense personnel. Potassium is not going to protect you against anything except for the iodine, but your thyroid is going to get radiated in that kind of environment with cesium and everything else. Because it sequesters in your organs, your muscles, and your flesh anyway. All the isotopes can do that. And a lot of them will gravitate like calcium, like plutonium is like calcium, or go into the bones, and potassium will go into the muscles and organs and stuff like that, right? But these are man-made. These are made. We made all the isotopes I'm talking about. These are not. These are why we have nuclear waste sites and waste repositories and terrorist laws, is because these are inherently dangerous. And if you look at Dr. Raymond Gilmedy, I got to bring him up just so people who've never seen that before would have some kind of handle on what we're talking about anyway. If you go look up his studies, he killed beagle dogs and beagle puppies for 35 years. Let's keep boogieing. And whenever I shift, I got to scroll to find my spot back on the next, because I have all these layers in my software where I can load up hundreds of headlines, say, right? Or pictures or graphs or whatever. And so I have all these different layers, and then I have all these separate layers with different settings. So I can look like this, or I can look like that. You know what I mean by the different. I can look totally different environment repetitively. And so right now I want to go in this environment and keep running before I lose track of what I'm trying to accomplish here. And once again, let's keep boogieing. Number one, out of more than 1,500, total radioactive iodine was up 500% in 2014. These are just headlines, but when you put them all together, you can see there is really truly a problem, was the point of it, and from all these different angles and these different facets. Letters from U.S. West Coast, nearly top Chernobyl, 2014, Alpha. Notification limits by over 1,000% Florida. On vegetation and vegetable, food and berries, and they're sucking this stuff up. We're in a lot of trouble, folks. We got to talk about the truth instead of lies, instead of bananas, potato chips. Until we start talking truth and understanding the significance of the truth at that stage, then we can do something. Until then, we're fighting each other. And the reactors are still out of control. And the most important thing we could ever do is stop the reactors. Nothing else really matters until we stop the reactors. But until they stop telling lies, they come out and try to have a conversation and be smeared and attacked and vilified, demonized endlessly in order to have that conversation. That is our job, to take that beating. Fukushima melted reactor core still active and releasing neutrons many months after 3/11. Radioactive sulfur was the highest ever measured. People in California up to 360 were breathing in 360 radioactive atoms man-made stuff. For the males, it congregated in your testes. And for women, it goes right into your ovaries. It affects women 10 times more harsh than it does men. Especially children, especially female children are 7 times more affected than the children or the little girls. UCLA researcher, Fukushima not only affecting local areas but also worldwide. The plume of iodine was a tracer scene. They keep doing that. That's the flaw with nuclears. They keep talking in iodines and 137, but not mention that it's just a tracer. And so people become complacent, thinking that, iodine got an 8-day half-life, 80-day altogether. There's 10 half-lives, 10 times whatever half-life is. So most people will have no concept of these principles, and they have no way of understanding, and there's no way to prepare yourself because the industry won't admit to anything. Dr. Raymond Gilmed is the admittance. They've never even tried to cure the animals. They've used certain stuff to try to bring it out of them, but they never try to cure cancers. It's disgusting. They know it doesn't. There's no way. And then they inject it into people at hospital after they sign their life away. They know it's going to kill them. That's why you got to sign their life away. Do I got to sign my life away to go get an aspirin from the supermarket? No. Should I? Yes. UCLA researchers, Fukushima not only affecting local areas, could censor U.S. government emails, proposed plan to test West Coast residents. 360 atoms ingested by people in California every day. Hot particles. Sulfur peroxide, hydrogen buckyballs from the salt water on the reactors created these spherical balls, and inside of that is the radioactive man-made material. That's 1/10,000th of a millionth of a meter. So small you can put 2 million of them ahead of a needle, you can't see it. Oh, Dana slurs his words. He has an accent. I can't trust him. He doesn't speak perfect English. He doesn't have a big corporation behind him. Fukushima plume model shows 1 million becquerels a meter over the west coast after the reactor explosion. 1 million becquerels, atomic decays. So an atom is putting out a decay. And so I can read, if it's in your body, I can read it with the Geiger counter. How much energy it got. If it's a banana, I can't read it. I get the Geiger counter, should be down there in the bottom right-hand side. It's not. What does it do? 114 counts per minute. Let's leave it on this one. We'll finish it out. There's not many headlines. 10, 20 headlines, 10, 50. Fukushima plume model showed 1 million becquerels. Like game over. Right across your whole country. It's hope imaginable. And that's not just 1 million, trust me. That's what they admit to. Public, there is no plume. We got model after model after model after model. I'll show you some of them at the end of this. Southeast U.S. hit by abnormally high levels of polonium. Polonium. I didn't know polonium could come from a reactor because it's natural and it's used all the time to say, oh, well, you get more polonium than dangerous radiation from polonium when you smoke a cigarette. There's 7,000 chemicals in a cigarette. You're not worried about polonium, you're worried about the 7,000 chemicals. But that's how they demonized everybody that come out and spoke out about it, because people didn't understand all the nuances. And there's so many, I don't. There's so many out there. I know most of it. There's so many of it out there, how could you possibly understand it all? The lies. They're constantly making it up. Polonium releases kept secret in past nuclear disasters. Death estimates would skyrocket if included. That's interesting because I've never heard tell of it, and I have heard tell of it, but I don't believe in it. And if it's true, we do make polonium. It's not 210. It's got to be 212 or 213 or 214. That's man-made. 210 is natural. 210, we don't care about it. But everything else that's man-made, we do care about it. So if it's there, it's there. Whatever. But it is interesting statements. See? Radioactive release may continue for a year or more even after fission is stopped. New York Times. No, Dana, it's just the New York Times, Dana. Scientist says like a banana, Dana, why should we believe you? Because you're stupid and a moron if you believed him. They made you that way. It's not your fault. Or is it? Well, if you're watching my videos all the time and still don't get it, you're a moron. I can't help you. Nobody can help you. There's nothing on this planet can help you. You've been captured by the nuclear industry. You're hopeless. If you know anything about anything. That's why they got an education. They know everything I'm telling you, and then they come and tell you it's like a banana. And then I got to fight that in every video. I got to talk about that every single stream, in every conversation, every radio interview. And no matter what I do, I got to mention that first usually. Well, scientists have been saying it's like a banana, potato chip, water, and sunshine to confusion. And see, that don't make any sense to anybody until they go look themselves and start seeing it everywhere. Then they, if they can remember I said that. Spent nuclear fuel catches fire. Oh yeah, worse than a meltdown. Because the reactor cores, and the biggest product of spent fuel is curium isotopes. Dr. Raymond Gilman, he used that on beagle dogs and beagle puppies and showed that was just as effective as the plutonium-239 and the americium-241 and 242, right? Which is a major byproduct of the fuel rods too, by the way. The rods, they look for cesium and iodine because that's a tracer, and then they can explain that one away, but they can't explain the other stuff away. It is a panic. There's no way to escape as gas stations are closed and rescuers are all gone. We'll be like Chernobyl on steroids if the spent fuel catches fire. Each reactor holds 3,450 spent fuel assemblies. This is somebody, a nuclear engineer, who worked at an identical plant in the very early beginning, March the 15th, 4 days after the accident, telling you the truth. And since then, everybody's been doing all they can to knock those numbers down. Oh, there's 1,500 fuel rods, Dina. Over and over and over. You hear that one? 1,500 fuel rods, Dina. But this is every 18 months, there's 3,450 assemblies. Each assembly is 80 rods. Each rod is 12 feet and weighs 18 pounds. That's over 5 million pounds. That goes up on the roof every 2 years and is up there for, like the video I played earlier from MIT on March the 14th, the day before this headline came out. 10 years of spent fuel rods are on the roof. Not good enough, Dana. No, Dana, you're not good enough. It's just a nuclear scientist, Dana, who come out and told the truth. No, Dana's only 1,500 rods, Dana. Now they're saying there's 600 tons is missing. So when you look at the 3,450 spent fuel assemblies, that's 13,500 tons per reactor. Not counting that they got 10 years, every 2 years they put it up on the roof. And they keep it there for 10 years. So there's 25 million pounds on the roof. Do you think they're running the reactors on minimum loads for something? Do you really believe that? You think these things are not pumping out the juice all the time? I can't help you if that's what you think. Radioactive iodine found in the tap water and start passing out bottled water for all the kiddies, right? But they couldn't keep that up. They ran out of it. You know, the whole country, 400 kilometers of coastline just got washed away. Let's finish this up. Comparisons with x-rays and CAT scans are meaningless. No, that's the game. That's the big wool over your eyes. That's the big slap in your mouth. That's the big cock up your ass from these fucks, these scumbags, these losers, these freaks of nature, these cowards, these traitors, these manipulative demons from society, that these anti-human fucks. Cesium-137 released in Fukushima in the first 4 days could be 50%. See, the illusion or the alluding to it is important too. Tell you drinking water unsafe, for instance. It's permanently unsafe because it's not just iodine. See? Calm down, Dina. Fukushima radioactive iodine. No, because it's murder. These people are murderers. People that are calling me saying that Dana is that, and all I do is provide you with the documentation, are demons. These are horrible, unimaginable, disgusting parasites and vultures upon us. They are true parasites upon you and your friends and your families and your loved ones. They couldn't hold a job in anything else in the industry where they can be vicious thugs. That's why they work for the nuclear industry, because they're thugs. They're child molesters, mass murder, and thugs, period. Carried fire by the wind and absorbed readily by humans. Iodine and cesium. How many times have you seen that today? Literally every headline is iodine, cesium, iodine, cesium, iodine, cesium. Do you think for 1 second that that is what the reactors were worried about, that scientists were actually worried about? There's around 12,000 that we know about, not counting what Russia and China, India and Pakistan and Israel and Canada are creating that we don't know about, is classified. There's 12,000 that we know about anyway. Fukushima crisis level raised now to 6. Right, that was slapping you in the mouth as hard as they could when they done that. You paid them to tell you the truth. You paid them, you gave them equipment, the authority and monetary to find it and tell us when it happened. What did they do? They stabbed you to death with the biggest knife they could find. And they're still at it. They turned off the radiation detectors throughout your country. If your friends or your family or your loved ones works for the EPA, you need to get in their faces. You need to give them a conscience. You need to show them this stuff and make them sit there, and to try to get them walk away, give them a smack in the fucking mouth for me. Radioactive iodine detected by Tampa area nuclear plant. Iodine travels through the air very easily. Yeah, 25 times less risk than would be needed in order to cause any health consequences. See, how do you explain it all? It's 25 times less than you would need. Their instantly reaction is always the same. Never to tell the truth. You only need one isotope in your body. 10, 20, 30 years down the road, the cancer is manifested, diagnosed. Before that, there's 1,800 diseases will show up. Long before that, cancer shows up. Cancer is the last thing that shows up. By March 21st, 5 nuclear isotopes from Fukushima, Seattle. In Seattle now, they estimate 10 to 100 hot particles a day. I estimate about around 500 hot particles a day in Seattle from the modeling we got. Iodine 132. Technetium was the one we should have been worried about. 99 is not there. And cesium 134 and cesium 137, mostly the tracers. The minute they mention iodine or cesium, it's the tracers or the daughters, right? Forever 129. Forever. See, look, it's my Geiger counter. 5 becquerels in Germany, you throw your food away. Everything here's got more than 5 becquerels now in North America. Do you get why Germany wanted to close all their nuclear power plants? Because all of a sudden they weren't able to keep their food at 5 becquerel no more, see? Because of what happened there. It's very significant, the iodine 131. 2 headlines to go. Over 4 million becquerels in major cities. And it's not from iodine 131 or 137. No, it's because the reactors are full of uranium. They took 400 train cars to get a gram. And then they got 5 million pounds and they put that through the reaction for 18 months. That's why a gram has 1 million watts. A gram of potassium-40 or rubidium doesn't have watts at all. Not even a watt. But a gram of uranium, a gram the size of a dime. 400 train cars condensed of iron ore and 400 train cars of chemicals to get that gram. So you can have 18 months of energy when you had 5 million pounds. That's the game. The radiation is throughout your country. It has infiltrated every aspect of your life. And you need to fight back for your loved ones and your friends and your families. See, that tsunami ran through the country, right? Is anybody denying the tsunami ran through the country? And what you're looking at, the red is where all the people died. And the yellow are the people that are missing. That's 400 kilometers of the coastline. And that's where all the nuclear power plants were to. And that's why you see headlines like that, see? And that's why the Fukushima governor strongly demanded TEPCO decommission, dismantle all 10 of the reactors. 14 total. In different prefectures, because the same spot where the tsunami killed all those people is the same spot where the tsunami ran through and disabled all those reactors permanently. And there was no way to get in, plug it in, no way to get in there, invent it, no way to get in there and determine a solution or get something. How are you going to plug power back in a number 4 fuel pool when it's not even there? How? The tsunami came right through the power plant. But according to Jim Stone, it can't explode if that happens. No, it had to be a man-made tsunami, and then they were sitting there waiting, and when they reached the criticality, when the numbers on the dials of a building that don't exist, right, that's when Israel pulled the trigger and blew it all up, okay? Yeah? Okay. See, that don't make any sense to me. And it shouldn't to you. But if it do, I can't help you. This is TEPCO 7 weeks ago. I'll end it on that clip.
And
Slowly.
Fukushima Daiichi stage, right after the accident, it was of course
the first club in
emergency
Washington,
condition.
7 weeks
But
ago.
right now,
First is sitting
gradually became the decommissioning stage, more stable
talking about number 4,
decommissioning stage.
buildings that were
And that's
destroyed. I was just showing you, torn
as
right
I
to the
mentioned,
ground.
the successful.
This is 6 weeks ago. Now he's showing you this. He's talking about how he removed 1,500 somethings. Who knows what that is anymore? Assemblies. Right, that's the actual documentation of them. 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. And what he's talking about is inside of that building. And so if you don't want to support the truth, please go away. If you're not interested in making a difference, please go away. I haven't got time for you if you're not interested in reality. This planet hasn't got time for you. The other 8 million species on the planet do not have the time for your nonsense, for your incompetence, and for your ignorance to console you because you're too ignorant to even try to understand or try to learn or try to comprehend it. How hard could it be when I showed you all the documentation every fucking day? How hard could it be for you to wrap your mind around the very basis and support me? I have zero support, but I have incredible support. But at times I feel like I got zero support, and I can't do anything without support. I'm being attacked and demonized. We know that Google and UVic, University of Victoria in British Columbia, Canada, Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and Saanich Police Department in Van Victoria Private Police Department in Van Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, conspired in the court records to censor me on Google, on YouTube. And then people say, oh, Dana, your numbers are dropping on YouTube. Well, you should see and listen to the things I say before you say things like that. And why are you on my site if you don't understand that at this stage? And what I do is a very tiny audience, I get that. But it's the biggest subject on the planet, it's the most important story on the planet. And I'm not just some random person on the internet. I'm not some random figment of their imagination. I went out and done 260 days, 15,000 miles of the coastline. That is documented. That is up at the Nuclear Proctologist. That is already done. That is already accomplished. That is already sacrificed by many people to see this through and make it happen. And we all suffer. But I am still here, and I am still in battle. I am still at the forefront of the charge, and I need support. I'm running on zero all the time, and I don't have any constant way of raising money, only to come here and ask and to try to appeal to people out there to understand how important it is to find ways to just, if everybody was donating $1 a week or $1 a month, I wouldn't have to do this ever. But because that's not, and might never happen, because I've been vilified and demonized and attacked and marginalized, and that I seek to fill this position to be able to inform people, because I feel that there's no one out there that I can trust or anybody else can trust, or that has the capability or the ability or the forethought or the tenacity to carry it and see it through. But I do need donations. Please donate at thenuclearproctologist.org with your credit cards. That's how we've done all the expeditions. No one has ever had any issues with that. That's a legitimate sites that we're using. It's all got nothing to do with me. And then we have PayPal, Dana Durnford at hotmail.com. And that if you support me, you know, I can do things that I can't do. And I have ambitions to do as much as I can do for this entire planet. I've already done 260 days on this coastline. And we will do more expeditions as the year moves on, because it has to be done to document it. But we have to create this media, and we have to be able to deal and do interviews and everything else and be committed to this. And I am committed to it, and I always will be. That'll never change. But at some point, when I finally get enough people donating to me, we'll get the results that we need, because I'll have that ability. Until then, I don't have the ability. I need to do what I can do right here on this video. And Google will censor me to death, and that I won't get any traction. Until I have the ability to create traction, to create a stir, to get into people's faces, we are stuck in this boat. And it's good enough. I got no issues. I'll keep doing what I'm doing as long as I can do it. As the internet is available, I'll be doing this. Because I understand it, and I'm compelled. And you should be too. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody next opportunity. I'm working through software for the last 5 days, so no live streams. My apologies. I desperately needed a break. I've been just under constant, endless, perpetual attack, and it doesn't slow me down, because I didn't do nothing wrong. And so I'm not going anywhere. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody next chance. Maybe tomorrow. Take care.